Okay, so we're on, ladies. Good morning. Karen again from Wise Women Weekdays. It's quite hard to say that. And I'm joined with my co-host, Kitty. This is your first session, isn't it?
It is.
So welcome, Kitty. And we've got a guest, Roma.
Mm-hmm.
And Roma, you are
I'm a doula, a spinning babies parent educator, and a hypnobirthing teacher, infant feeding coach, doula mentor.
So lots
all
of
things
stuff.
birth and baby.
All things birth and baby.
Yeah.
And our session today, I mean, Roma was going to do, I was supposed to have a chat with you, was it last week or the week before? I can't remember. And you were taken off, weren't you? You had to go and deliver a baby, which I'm assuming went quite well.
It went very well.
And then you had another one back. When you said back to back, you were not talking about the baby was back to back. You were talking about you had another baby to deliver.
Yeah, so one of them was a shared client with my doula partner Gemma, and Gemma took over from me, and I went to the other one who was my own client.
Right. Fabulous, and it went well. I'm sure they normally all go well, but we'll come.
Much,
yeah, pretty much. We'll come on to that. So our subject today was actually about grandparenting, wasn't it? Because Kitty, you said that you would like to talk about grandparenting. When I asked you to be a wise woman, I said, what are your interests? And one of them came up as a grandparent, and I jumped at that because I've just become one last week. I've become a grandparent. I've got my first grandchild, a daughter, who I haven't yet seen, so I'm going to see her this evening, going to meet her. Very excited about that. And I thought that would be great, just bringing all this together about babies and going through the ages of, from being a baby and being a mother and being a grandparent, and how we can all bring it together, really, and our opinions of it. So what I would like to start off with is the way babies are brought into the world. I mean, traditionally, you sort of go to the doctor, don't you, say, am I pregnant? Or maybe you do your home test. This is in my day, so okay, gosh, my son is 27, so we're talking 28 years ago now. Things move on very quickly. So I would have done the test, got excited, gone to the doctor, confirmed it, and then you're in the system of us being assigned a midwife, and there you go. Has that changed? I mean, through the years, obviously, you're a lot younger than me, so you weren't there at that time, but how does it work now?
Yeah, people can access tests just the same as you did. Generally, people test themselves and find out that they're pregnant. Sometimes they go through a doctor who refers them to the midwife, sometimes they self-refer, and some people choose to be outside of the system as well and not receive care within the NHS. They might have an independent midwife, or they might choose to have a wild pregnancy and free birth.
A wild pregnancy?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that sounds like rushing off
one of them.
Yeah, rushing off into the sea or into the bushes. Or is that what it's actually called, a wild pregnancy?
Yeah.
But basically, isn't it just kind of going back to the origins of how we all came onto this planet, way back, isn't it? There weren't midwives and doctors. I don't think, like going to the National Health Service or whatever, you'd have a sisterhood around you, I would have thought.
I think they were very experienced kind of lay midwives, or for want of a better word, traditional midwives, who would have been taught the trade by their mothers and their grandmothers, and they would have been very good at caring for women, but they wouldn't have had all the technology that we have these days.
Yeah, because there is a need for it, isn't there? There is a need for the technology and the assistance. I mean, when I had my first, it's quite interesting, I went to a pregnancy yoga class, and at the beginning we'd all sit there in a circle drinking our herbal tea, and that was quite a new thing, herbal tea in those days, like nearly 30 years ago. And we'd sit there and introduce ourselves, and we'd say when the baby's due and where you plan to have the baby. So for me, it was going to be, I'm due in May, and I'm going to go to the Brighton hospital. And then we'd go around the circle. But people would say, well, I'm having a home birth, and I'm having a home birth. And as the weeks went on, all the ladies were having a home birth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was quite wow. And I thought I was having a home birth. Now, this is where we can bring the grandparents in, because when I said that, my parents were not too happy about it, and my in-laws were not too happy about it. So we did try to have the home birth with the water. We had to hire the water and all that kind of stuff. But William wouldn't come out because he was back to back, which is why I said about your baby being back. So he wasn't ready to come out, and so I did have to go and have an emergency cesarean in the hospital, which wasn't what I planned, but I'm alive, and my baby was alive, and he's a big healthy boy, and everything worked out okay. Now, days gone by, we might not have had that opportunity to have had a cesarean, and I think not that long ago, the father could have chosen whether it's a child or your wife, if it's a life or death situation. That's true, isn't it?
Yeah, because when I had mine, you didn't even have tests. You just missed a couple of periods, and that was it. And the doctor
Wow.
said, oh, well, if you've missed 2, you're pregnant. And that was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah.
simple.
Really nice and simple.
But being back to back, I'm going to get my baby and pelvis out.
Yes, your baby and pelvis. Wow, how interesting.
So your baby was either back to back in pregnancy,
Right, can you see that quite well on the camera? Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is like this, and was kind of before
Because this is the
labour.
front, this is the pelvis, this is the
This
front,
is the front,
obviously. Yeah.
and the pelvis kind of sits at that kind of angle. And when the baby's like this, it doesn't fit in the inlet of the pelvis. And it won't fit in until it rotates, usually to the left, tucks its chin, fits in, and then it usually rotates the correct way and down. The other form of back to back was when they engage in the usual way, but they turn back to back lower down, and then you're trying to push them out back to back. And historically, there wouldn't have been so much back to back because it's related to our lifestyle and how we like to sit. And we didn't used to have all these comfy chairs.
No.
When we sit leaning back a lot, the baby settles into that kind of position. They get comfy there and they stay there. So if you work through pregnancy and you're more upright, and you do some balancing exercises
Yeah.
and things, you've got more likelihood that the baby's going to be in a better position, and then you won't get into that
Yes.
kind of situation, hopefully, in birth.
Yeah.
And traditional midwives would have had knowledge of how to help that baby to rotate
Yeah.
rather than just kind of sit and wait.
Sit and wait. Because when I found out he was back to back and he hadn't turned, I went everywhere, hell for leather, trying to find ways, even saying please turn,
Yeah.
and he didn't. So that's why, okay, because then you have to have the scans and the X-rays saying, well, there's something wrong with you, your hips are too small, and all this, and then you go through the guilt thing. And I know one of the other mothers in our peer group, she had the same situation. It wasn't a back-to-back birth, but it was a cesarean. But it was a cesarean. It was an emergency cesarean, and she was so angry when we did the coffees afterwards. She was so upset because she didn't have the joy of a natural birth.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I do miss. I've missed out on in my life. I've had 3 cesareans because then subsequently you advise your next birth needs to be a C-section, a next birth,
Now
and
I
only
probably
have
know it's not
yeah.
true, don't we?
And these days, a mum who's had a C-section before has got just as much chance of a natural birth as a first-time mum.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that they're no longer saying, oh, you should have another C-section.
Yeah. Interesting times, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So, what made you get into? I mean, are you a mother yourself?
Yeah, I've got 3 sons.
And is that partly why you decided to get into?
Yeah, I was always fascinated by birth. I remember my auntie was at our place when she went into labour when I was a little girl.
Yeah.
And I was asking her lots of questions about it and saying, oh, do you have to be quite fit to give birth? And I just remember being really interested. And it wasn't until I had my own son when I was 31 that I was like really fired up and passionate about it. And I had him at home. And then I went on a couple of years later to train as a doula with Michelle O'Donnell in London and Liliana Lenners. And it's just mind blowing. You sort of end up unlearning a whole load of things that you took as fact.
Yeah. I think that's the point, isn't it? It is a case of like unlearning, because what we're told, isn't it? There is another way, which is always what I when we have these conversations, I always like to impress on people that there is more information to be found and discovered rather than just going along with what you're told.
Yeah.
And that's why these sessions are really, really good on whatever subject that we're choosing. So Kitty, what you were saying, you just went along with it, didn't you? I suppose you didn't have the internet, I guess, did you, in your day?
Well, I was really ill. I was really sick every morning, really, and couldn't keep anything down. But there's no way I'd have any tablets or anything. I didn't have anything, absolutely nothing.
And that was just a personal choice?
Yeah.
Because?
I didn't agree with it.
You didn't agree with it? Wow.
I didn't agree with taking tablets and stuff.
Was this sort of post the thalidomide era as well, when people had taken tablets?
Yeah, when my daughter was born in '73.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because of that, it's just that I've never taken tablets, not even a headache tablet. I mean, I had to occasionally, but I don't agree with taking anything like that, or injections or anything like that. So I think your body sorts itself out. But I mean, yeah, I was quite poorly, but then with my son, I was in hospital for a month because I had toxemia.
Oh, did you?
Yes. So I had to be monitored then, and
Right.
then they did give me, because it was going, my blood pressure was going really high, and they did have to give me tablets and knock me out, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't like that very much.
No. What, the fact that you had to take the tablets, or that you were knocked
Yeah, well,
out?
I had the tablets because they were going to induce me,
Right.
and you had to lower your blood pressure. You know more about this than I would. tablets to keep it down and then induce me. But
Yeah.
I had the tablets for about 4 days because they get really worried. But on the day of when I was going to be induced, I didn't take the tablets, and the sister come along and flung them down the side of the side cabinet and said, "You take them." And I said,
Oh my goodness.
I'm not taking them because you need to be aware of what you're doing, don't
Yes.
you?
Well.
And so I didn't take them.
Yeah.
She didn't like that very
So that is a real lesson there, is it, being aware of what you're doing, whereas some people don't want to be aware, really, and whatever it is that they're doing, they're just going along with the narrative and take this and do this and stand there. And that's one way of getting through life, but it's not kind of experiencing life, is it, to the fullest? It's not going and finding your own way. And
You've also got to have a good doctor who listens to you, and I was lucky. My doctor did listen to me and did help. You know.
And was your doctor a man?
Yes.
In the strictest sense of the word these days, yes.
Yes.
Biological man.
I mean, he was really good. I mean, Colette, we went up to the cot to look at her, and when I picked her up, she was all like this, and I said, "Mike, Jack, quick, get the doctor." And he was out literally within 10 minutes, and he came out and he was soaking wet. He'd been in the shower and he just got dressed.
Oh.
And he stayed for about 3 hours till she was fine.
Oh, bless him.
It's
That's
that kind.
nice.
It's that kind of doctor.
A good old-fashioned doctor. I'm not saying that the doctors now aren't good old-fashioned doctors. Well, they're not good old-fashioned, are they? They're sort of it's slightly different now, I think. But then again, there's so many diseases that they have to cover. You go to a general practitioner, and then they look it up in their books, don't they? There's so many things that they need to know. Can't expect them to be in their head all the time. But bringing the man into like the woman's realm what do we think about that? Any opinions?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because until about 40 years ago, men weren't usually at births, and the men who were, it was the exception to the norm. And we had this kind of historical phase where men weren't there, and now they're back in the room again.
Yeah.
And some people would choose not to have a care provider who's male, and for whatever reason they have. But I think it's more about the individual than the gender, because you could have a woman who is awful to be around when you're in labour, very uptight,
or bossy,
and you can have a man who's absolutely brilliant.
But things change, because my daughter was born in 73 and my husband wasn't there, but 75 my son was born and he could be there, so it changed very quickly. And with Colette I was in hospital for 10 days, and with Kerry 2 days, so it changed in a matter of 2 years, very quickly.
And that's the system. That's not your choice. That's the way it was. That's the way it's going.
Yeah, that's the way it was. Yeah.
And there is a standard conveyor belt of care these days, where the midwives are having to offer all kinds of things because it's on their list. They have to even warn people that their pool might crash through the floor.
Yeah.
Which has never ever happened, but it's on their tick list.
Wow.
And they have all these things because they're trying to avoid litigation.
Of course.
Because obstetrics makes out the largest portion of clinical negligence payouts within the NHS. And the way they've tried to go about lowering that is to offer things constantly, and it's down to the mother to decline or accept. And you don't know that generally if you're a first time mum. You think that everything they're offering is for your in the best, for your best health. But actually, they might not even agree with what they're offering you. They might be offering you a sweep or an induction just because you've reached a week past your due dates. It's just an offer. There's no legal obligation there. And the NICE guidelines actually say you should be offered either an induction at 42 weeks or increased monitoring, daily monitoring.
Because again, there's that set time, isn't it? You're, what is it,
40 weeks?
Yeah, 40 weeks.
That's
you're
late.
late. Yeah. And the other thing, talking about the offering, when you because for me, I was shocked, but it's trust. Because we give up our, what is it? Well, I guess we just trust the people that wear a white coat and or a suit in various industries. And I just went along with most of it until I found this amazing pregnancy yoga class, and my whole perception of life changed, really. It was a moment I thought, oh my God, I have a choice in this. I don't have to go through all this. So bringing to the grandparents later, would come to that if I can remember, but they were both upset, both sets, because they thought you should go to hospital and have a birth, and then their horror stories come out. And so then, you're as a pregnant woman, you're in a little bit of fear, but you go along with the white coats and the midwife. To me, they were better than the AA. When they came to my rescue, my midwives were absolutely fantastic, and I think I must have broken her fingers at one stage, holding on, trying to give birth, and William wouldn't come out. But when I did have the baby in the hospital, and the baby came out through a C-section, and they said sort of, I remember can I borrow your little baby?
Yeah.
I think it was like this. It was just from memory, but they sort of held him like this and said, sort of vitamin K, anybody? Ooh. And then it went. And I thought, okay, all right. What's vitamin K? What? I wasn't warned. You know, I had no idea. I still don't really know what vitamin K is, but you just go along with it. And then you think you've got this pure creature in your hands that you just really, you know, spent all this time looking after to bring into the world, and push straight away.
Yeah.
It's like a decision's taken out. You know, you're not going to say no, are you? When you
just know if it's safe to say no.
No,
really,
that's right. That's right. You're in shock and you're in joy and you're in bliss and you're, you know, and then they're off they go.
Yeah.
And it's like you're handing over this decision making to somebody who knows better or not.
Well, the midwives are generally so understaffed and so pushed for time that they haven't got time to kind of have all these discussions antenatally, and that's where I come in as a doula, because I can talk through all the options with my clients. I can signpost them to various information. Like Dr. Sarah Wickham writes really well about vitamin K, and she writes in a very sort of not skewed in one particular direction way.
Yes, more neutral. Yes, to allow people. It's the information, which again, this is why I like doing these chats. It's getting information out. Not that I know a little bit about many subjects, not a lot about one particular subject, but I can research it, and not just going online, by talking to people and bringing the experts in and people that have gone through, as Kitty has, you know, being a grandparent for. That's what it's about. It's being curious, isn't it, and asking questions and finding out so you can make an informed decision.
Absolutely.
About everything.
Yeah.
So why do they have to have vitamin K?
Well, they don't have to have it.
No, but why do they give it?
It's a prophylactic treatment, and it's offered to everybody in case of this serious newborn bleeding condition, which is incredibly rare, and it's slightly more common, but still incredibly rare if your baby is early or poorly.
Right.
And in a healthy term baby, it's incredibly rare, but still it does happen. And so a lot of people will choose to have either the drops or the injection. But you do also get people who opt out of that, and then they just have to keep an eye on their baby. Is there any kind of bleeding? Is the baby well?
Yeah.
I mean, I know one person, an adult, who did have that bleeding disorder as a baby, but I've never come across it. No. And I think it's because most people are accepting this treatment, it's been pretty much eradicated, but I still have quite a lot of clients who decline it.
Right, yeah.
It's giving you a choice, but when you're not given a choice.
No, that's right. Well, it was like a choice. It was like, do you want it? Yes or no?
I
hadn't even held my son, you know, and whoosh, and okay, if that's what one does, go with it.
And I understand the arguments for it, and then some people theorise that, you know, is it the case that nature has got the levels of vitamin K wrong for every single human, or is there some reason why the blood is more viscous? Is it that the stem cells need to move around and make repairs? I don't know.
No, I know, and every individual is different, and every mother is different, every child is different. So, you know, we're not robots yet. So we have to, see what is correct for us as an individual person. It's interesting, as I have 3 children now, as I think I mentioned. So the next 2, I was advised to have C-sections. They were they were very big babies. And I mean, my last one I think was just under 11 pounds. So they were big, and I'm not a huge person. So, and it wasn't a cop-out, but I took the advice. And when I had my 3rd baby, I didn't want this to be about injections and stuff, but because we've started talking about the vitamin K thing, I got a call from my local GP, and she'd been there through all my babies, invited me in. So I took my baby Catherine in, and all happy, smiley. I said, "Oh, you know, is this all about my checkup?" And she said, "Well, yes, sort of, but it's also because you've chosen not to give her the MMR." And I said, "That's right." And she said, "Is there a reason?" I said, "But like you, Kitty, I didn't want to, didn't feel there was a need to, you know, I've heard things, I have read things, and it's just my choice, So not going into too much detail, but at the end of the day, she chucked me off her books. She said, "Yeah, if you don't have this because of the herd thing, immunity and all that kind of stuff, that's been quite, we've been talking about that in recent times, haven't we? But the point is not so much about the vaccination, it's just the decision, again, that she made, because I wouldn't go along with the narrative, she chucked me off the books." And I said, "Wow." And I actually said, "Is this because you're not getting your money, your bonus?" And she said, "It's nothing to do with money." I said, "Well, it's got to be. You're not getting your money because you're not getting your quotas." And she said, "Well, we're not going to have that conversation. You are welcome to come as a visitor, but from now on, you're not registered at this surgery."
Wow.
I said, "Wow."
Coercive control.
Yes. So then I had to find another doctor, and this was in Brighton and Hove. So I was phoning them all up saying, "Can I register? New mother or 3rd baby?" And they were very welcoming, but then I said, look, but I'm not having the MMR at this moment in time. I might later, but at this moment in time, this is my decision.
Have the other two been done?
No.
No. Oh, right.
No. Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
And none of them right now would have me in my local area.
Wow.
None of them would have me. Luckily, we then moved. It was all quite traumatic, because when I had Catherine, my father died the next day, and then we moved 3 months after, so a lot of upheaval. But we moved to Lewis, and they seemed to be a little bit more open, because then sort of a friend said, well, I told her the situation, but go to this doctor's, and they won't even ask questions. And I was welcomed with open arms, and it's been fine ever since. But it was just interesting how, they can persuade you.
That is, wow, I've not heard of that.
No, you haven't heard of that. I mean, are you in that world of midwives and hospitals and things? How do you operate as a doula?
I'm completely independent, so, and most of my clients are choosing home birth. Most of them do want midwifery care, and if the midwives aren't available, we're usually going into the hospital. Though some of them say, well, if they're not available, I'm just going to stay here and do it. Right. Yeah. So, but I'm independent of them, and
yes.
So how long, how long do you look after them for? From sort of 3 months, or all the way, or at the end, or? Some
people contact me as soon as they've had a positive pregnancy test, and then I tend not to kind of take any money and sign them up until they're 12 weeks, and we know it's all happening. And then sometimes we're kind of only in touch for a month after the birth. I do a massage, I do a postnatal session, we do a birth debrief where I take them a cake. And sometimes it extends, sometimes they pay me to come in as a postnatal doula, and sometimes that really extends as well, particularly with twins. Yeah. And I might be with them for another 6 months.
Right.
Lovely.
So it depends on the needs.
Yeah.
No, that is lovely. So on a personal note again, because I think being a mother and now a grandmother, I've always supported the alternative, and as I said, I think the allopathic, the hospitals have a role to play. Also, I might not be here. I needed that cesarean. And when my son told me his girlfriend, beautiful Sophia, was having the baby, so they just had the baby last week, obviously over the moon, and I was like saying, the only bit of advice I'm going to give you is not to take any, including mine, because you are going to be inundated with people. If I do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that, and the conflict, and so just do what you need to do. And then I did put a doula their way. It wasn't a doula, well, it was it's somebody that I know, and I thought she was very good, but I thought she was very good. I put her their way, and I think they had a chat, but that wasn't the right one for them. Yeah. So they've chosen somebody else, which is the right thing to do. Yeah. And I've met her, and it was beautiful, because we have like a women's circle, a sisterhood circle, and stuff like that, where we all got together to support my my son's girlfriend through her pregnancy, and now they've had the baby, and it's been really lovely. However, there is a however here. Because I hadn't expected my feelings of feeling a little bit rejected, I guess, in the procedure of the birth. I didn't want to be there for the birth. It's not my daughter, it's my son. But I thought I would be welcomed in more or less, in the next couple of days, not immediately, in the next day or two. But their system now is a new system, I think. It's a new age, where a lot of the young mums don't want... They want to hibernate with their newborn for maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks. Is that the norm?
It really depends on the individual. The only time I've seen it be that long is when someone's parents are overseas. Right. Some people want their parents to come the next day, and some people, like, they're landing from some enormous transformation, and they just need a little bit of time for that. They might be feeling a bit vulnerable, a bit emotional. Yeah, they might be naked and learning to breastfeed, and just really needing that a little bit of space. I have seen it increasingly where they're waiting like up to a week before they invite them over. I visited someone yesterday who was waiting a week. Right.
I think also it depends on the birth of the baby.
Yes.
How the because my daughter did have a bit of a traumatic birth, and we kept her quiet for about 10 days. But I let my mum down. I didn't my mother.
Oh no! But you were part of that. You were there. You were in the house.
What's up?
You were in the house with your daughter, so you could see the grandchild.
No, this was my daughter.
Oh, this is your actual birth yourself, not your daughter's birth.
No,
right.
No.
Right, so you kind of hibernated for...
Oh, we took her out, but we didn't want lots of people coming
in. No, because it is a very personal thing, isn't it?
She had a quite a traumatic birth, and I just think it's nice just to
be, yes. And
then obviously you had people.
when you're ready for it.
But
Yeah.
we used to say no colds and stuff like that. Now,
Yeah, no,
now
of
we know
course.
slightly different.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
And if you're crying when you go along and your nose runs a little bit, tell them that you don't have a cold and you're just crying.
Oh yes.
Because I had someone visit me who was snuffling and I thought, why have they come?
Oh gosh, and there was something. Oh, because the emotions.
And they were just being emotional.
Yeah.
And I found this out, ages later.
Right. Oh, how sweet is that though? Yeah. You need a sign: tears, cold. No, these are tears. Yeah.
I was at the birth of my second granddaughter, and second grandchild, my first granddaughter, and that was really lovely.
That was lovely.
That was
So,
very nice.
well, that's the point I'm making. You see, so grandparent as opposed to doula. So you were actually at the presence, but it was the second.
Yeah, because Robin was 9, and then Sue, my daughter-in-law, had, and my son obviously had Becky, and she asked me if I'd go and look after, well, Robin really, but we all ended up in the room with the 2 midwives, my son, obviously Sue, and Robin, and Robin was running around having a look, see what was going, getting on his hands, and
Yeah. This is a 9-year-old.
Yeah. And then and it was lovely, and then obviously Sue had the baby, and I held her before Sue did actually.
Oh.
And then she went off to, she thought, can I have my baby? I went, oh yes, sorry.
Oh, yes.
Hand it over. And then she went off to have a bath, so I changed all the bed. Now I looked around, changed it, I looked around, and my son was jumped in it, said, thanks mum. He said, I'm knackered.
But I think in a way they are, aren't they? I know they haven't gone through the physical stuff.
Oh yeah.
But the mental anxiety and witnessing it, I guess, witnessing their
it wasn't
partner.
early in the morning. It was about 7 o'clock in the morning. We had been up since about 3 o'clock.
So he's knackered anyway.
Yeah.
So it's quite funny. I mean, they definitely have a role to play. Them well, obviously, because we wouldn't be pregnant without them, would we? But it's then I'm thinking, is it therefore now it's ours? You've done your job, so off you go, man. Or are we embracing them? And as you said, I think,
you've got to share them.
Yeah,
no. When I know, well, I used to feed Colette in the middle of the night, and my husband was always nursing her till the next feed.
Yeah.
They have to be part of it, surely.
No, absolutely. I think it's key. Well, it's setting a foundation, isn't it, for bringing up a healthy child. So the girls yesterday, they did a show or a chit chat show on yin and yang and about the balance, the male and the feminine energy, and I think that is really important to get a balanced child as we're bringing these young people, the next generation, because the world is a little bit topsy-turvy at the moment, isn't it, in all sorts of ways.
Oh yeah.
So
my partner was just so amazing at the birth. He was so loved up. I just had this brilliant. I had an ecstatic birth.
Did you?
And I was
without music
surprised. No, I was playing some strange soundtrack of an Indian doctor called Gauri Moffa.
Oh wow!
I don't know why.
Oh wow!
I didn't tell my partner either, and he and my doula. But he was brilliant, and we really connected, and I just felt so ecstatic and so wonderful. And I still didn't like the peaks of the contractions.
No.
But I felt great.
Oh, beautiful.
And men's hormones do change at the time of birth. Their testosterone blood drops, prolactin and oxytocin increases, and it stays like that for a while afterwards. A few weeks later, they'll go back to normal again. Really,
but it does stay like that. That's what I'm picking up from my son. Like the messages, they're in this very special sacred space at the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, as a new grandparent, I haven't seen my grandchild yet, and I'm not desperate because I want them to enjoy that time. But I was also a little bit surprised, thinking, wow, we're not allowed in yet, but I'm your mother. And that's why I'm thinking, does the doula replace the job of the grandmother?
The doula would have gone within a few hours of the birth.
Yes.
Yeah.
But moving forward, because as I said to my son and to anybody, it takes a village to raise a child, doesn't it? And I think that's really important to remember, partly because of to support the parents, the mother and the father, but also to educate that child moving forward, because not just one person can give all the information, because you're going to be a bit biased, so it takes a community, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, therefore, when I wasn't invited straight away, I couldn't have gone there anyway because I was actually in Lanzarote on holiday with my sister. But I just assumed that when I had my babies, mum, come, sister, not the whole lot, but just your mother and your father. And they were just saying, well, hang on a minute. And that was just a bit, So I realised we do have to step back. And I'm just thinking, is the doula taking my place? Shouldn't I be doing that? As in other times, as we said at the beginning, the mother and the grandmother and the sisters, they would have been trained. It would have been, that skill would have been passed down the line.
They would have lived it.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of coming to terms with that, isn't it? It's just like not
just another thing that's been sort of robbed of us in our human experience.
Yes. That's exactly it. Thank you. Robbed of us that experience to be part of it, and being right. I like that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But on the other hand, I think you have to respect their wishes, and as a grandparent you have to really stay out of it until they ask. And to start off with, I wouldn't offer any advice, just go along with what they say, and then gradually
but they let you in.
I think so.
That's really good advice.
I think so. Because, and then if you look after the baby or whatever, or when they're a bit older, you carry on bringing the child up as they want, not as you want.
Yes, that's
but a lot of people don't.
Wishes. I know.
We know that, but a lot of people don't.
No,
They'll give you sweets, and maybe the mum says no sweets, an apple, and they go and give them sweets.
I know the conflict I have with my mother, bless her, she's up there. Hi, Mum. And again, as I said, it was very strange because the anniversary of her death was the day before little Amara's been born. But 8 years on. But again, it's just weird. It's synchronicity, isn't it? Like when Catherine was born, my dad died, and now my grandchild. Anyway, but how she would want to raise my child, we used to have a lot of conflict, and she would want to swaddle the babies, because that's another thing. So where they wrap them up like that, and they can't move their arms or anything. And I remember she had Catherine once, and then gave it back to me, and Catherine was very red in the face, and I think I might have. There were a couple of occasions I took her to the doctor because she was red in the face, and the doctor said, she's overheated. She's overheated because my mum had put all this bloody stuff. Mum.
But they didn't have central heating.
That's right. We're all learning.
You hear so many stories of people doing things.
That's right. When to feed them or not to feed them.
But when you're a parent, when you're a new parent, you don't know. You overwrap them, you underwrap them, you overfeed them.
That's right. And then you have no sleep. You have no sleep because they keep you can't get them to sleep, the babies. So eventually they go to sleep. Are they alive? So you wake them up. Oh, it's quite funny. All these beautiful experiences new parents are going to go through. I remember again with William, poor William, if he ever watches this. He was a newborn, and I was in my kitchen. I had him, and my friend Sue, she was a mother already, and William just did this projectile vomiting, like something out of the Exodus movie, and I was horrified. I just, oh my god, what is it? And I was literally horrified. She was great. She just picked him up, leave him with me, and I was in shock. And she just took him up, cleaned him, and came back. I said, "Well, what was that about? What happened? Have I got, It's just a reflex, isn't it, or a reflux or something like that." But nobody told me about that one. So all these things. So it's quite nice having experienced, people, grandparents or friends or doulas. So it's all for the, the love of the child, isn't it, and the family, really.
Mind you, it will be extra special when you see your little one.
I think so. I think that's when the floodgates will open. I mean, my daughter's been beside herself, because it's her first little baby in our family. They've not seen a newborn. Not that it's quite newborn now. She's quite newborn, but a new, all my family have really experienced of people passing, grandparents and aunts and uncles and stuff like that. And these days, not many weddings because people sort of don't, get married, so the fact of celebration is just
like it used to be like that, didn't it? Funerals and weddings, but you all got together.
That's right, and it's hard to do it, and we're all so busy, and we're all on the screens and WhatsApps and Zoom calls. We're not in the flesh, which again is why I think it's really important for women to come together and chat, and to include anybody as we go live on these shows, for people to put their comments on and become part of it. And even you'd be invited in if you've got stories to share, to come and sit on the sofa. We're not in the yurt because it's a bit cold, so moving forward it will be in the yurt. But
I remember a friend telling me that her mother-in-law came for the first time, and she held the baby and she said, "Oh, you and I are going to have secrets." And my friend was horrified.
Oh gosh.
She thought, "No, you won't."
That's when the baby monitors come, the cameras start coming in. Oh, secrets. Oh gosh. Oh, is that funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
an interpretation of that. Yeah.
You've got to, it's nice to have a nice relationship with your grandchildren though. The more you see them and just abide by what rules there are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And take them out and not spoil them, but you know,
A little treat.
get,
Yes.
you
There
know,
are things I'd find hard though, like if they were like devotees of Gina Ford and her Contented Baby book, and they were leaving the baby to cry, and they were like 7:14, have a shower.
Oh, that's
7:18,
right.
yeah, but if you
feed the
had,
baby.
if they weren't around, you wouldn't leave the baby to cry like that, would you?
No, it's instinctive, isn't it? You know, the baby's crying for a reason, so surely you pick them up, and it's wet or cold or hungry or something.
Yeah, they're not.
And that's
it's very weird, sort of Victorian.
Yeah,
hangover
it
advice.
is.
It's so cruel.
Because I think it is cruel. And my mother, I'm not just blaming you, Mum, but I'm sure it was like, was it 4 and 8, and you had to feed them, pick them up, feed them at these set times.
Oh
and
my God.
Yes, it was just weird.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely weird.
As though as an adult you would do that, right? I'm not eating yet.
No, that's
not
not
12 o'clock.
Absolutely, that's a very fair point again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think to a certain degree you've got to use your own common sense, obviously, but at the same time, when they get a bit older and if you've given them something they don't normally have, they go and tell their mum. So then
Well, that's right. The truth will come out.
Yeah.
The truth always comes out eventually. You cannot hide the truth, whatever that might
And even
be.
if you say don't tell mum, they will.
They will. Yeah, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but yeah. But it is hard because when you have a baby, they don't come with instructions, do they? And I know when I brought mine home from the hospital in that little carrier chair and put him down there, and a neighbour happened to be walking past, I said, no, I've caught one now. And he said, you're not going to sleep now for 18 years. I thought, what? 27 years on. But I just didn't know. I thought, how can somebody entrust me with this? Where's that kind of help?
Yeah.
And I guess that's where the doula
So you
comes
need your
in.
mum.
Or your mum comes in, people with experience, and it's because it's a massive thing, isn't it? You're bringing this new life into the world.
Yeah, I couldn't have done without my mum. She was really good.
Yeah.
And the birth experience, it's big enough to kind of, it basically kills off the maiden, and she's reborn a mother.
Well, that's kills off the maiden. Absolutely, is a transition, isn't it? Yeah. It's interesting going back onto the grandparents thing. When my mum said, because with her, so my mother, she's a Liverpool lass, and she was one of 5. Because they also had lots of children in those. 5 isn't a lot, I know.
Wow, no.
Yeah, I know
Like 10,
families
12.
of 13, 12. Yeah, and I think that's also partly just to make sure that there's a couple left, because children would die off, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
And whether that's through hygiene or health or medication, I don't know. But so they'd have big families. But so as one of 5, she said her mother, which would have been my grandmother, she said she'd have one day off a week, or one morning off a week. She said so she'd push the perambulator, I think that's what it was called, with little my Uncle Jimmy in it, and there'd be the 2 either side, and she said she'd walk over to her mother, that would have been my great grandmother, who Victorian era now, and then they'd go into the house and they'd all have to sit there, so my mum, Vera, and the baby in the pram, and they'd sit there on the sofa and not move, because the grandmother, seen and not heard. And that would allow my grandmother then to go off and have her Guinness in the pub or whatever it was. Yeah, I might have made that up, but I'm pretty sure it was. Go and have her Guinness for iron, and then come back and off they go.
Yeah.
But my mum said we were not allowed to move. We had to sit upright on this very uncomfortable sofa and just be seen and not heard. So of course that's her generation, isn't it? That's her grandmother. And then she comes along and kind of goes the other way because she wants to spoil my kids too much.
But you can understand.
Yeah, you can. And she'd buy all these toys and plastics and food and sweets. And I said, I don't want them, Mum. No. But it's, killing with kindness in a way. So it's...
Yeah. I mean, my mum arrived the day that my oldest was born with an armful of bottles. She said, you can't use your boobs forever.
Oh.
But I'll show you.
Yes. So you're still breastfeeding?
Yeah. Mortified, he's 17.
Oh, hang on. Sorry. But that's another thing. I mean, that's a topic for conversation, because again, in my peer group of pregnant mothers, I remember we'd meet up regularly, and I still kept in touch with a couple of them, which is really lovely, lovely. And there was one woman, or one mother, but her, as the months and years went by, he probably was about 4, and he would still come up and help himself.
Yeah.
you know, and we'd think, oh, we try not to say anything, but we thought, no, that's odd. I think it was more of a need of the mother than the son. He didn't need the milk, he was weaned, he was on, you know, whatever else he was on. But how does that sit with you? What do you think about that one?
It's entirely up to the mother and how she does it. I actually breastfed my eldest until he was 3 years and 4 months old. But I had some quite strict rules around it. So he'd have it last thing at night, couldn't have it when we were out.
Right.
And he called it momo because his first word was more.
Oh,
more.
yeah.
And I would not have done it in public, or if he'd called it booby or something.
Yes,
Boobs.
Yeah.
It's mortifying out.
Because that's slightly different, isn't it? It's more of a comfort thing and a warm thing and a connection rather than just going. This little one would just go.
Yeah, I mean I mean, you ought to have autonomy over your own body, and you ought to be teaching that to your child. And so maybe she was completely happy with that, which is fine.
Yeah. No, I think she, as I said, I think she needed it more than the child did. To be honest, I think it was like her role, and I don't know, because we can go on into all sorts of stuff with that one. Yeah.
I mean, the World Health Organization, they recommend feeding until 2.
Do they? Well, I think I did 13 months. I think I was 13 months and stuff, and started doing the bottles for somebody else to take over, because it's quite exhausting.
Yeah. I mean, my eldest gave up for a New Year's resolution. I said, oh, it's New Year's. People have resolutions where they give things up.
Right.
What can we give up? I said, I could give up more.
Yes.
Oh, that's a good idea, love.
Oh, wow. So it was his choice again. I think really that's lovely. Yeah. And you have that connection. Yeah. What are your views on it, Kitty? Did you breastfeed?
Yeah, both of them.
And how do you feel about it? Was it time to think, well, that's enough now? 2 months, 3 months, 2 years, 3 years? What do you think?
It's about 9-10 months, I think. But I made sure I did both at the same time.
Yeah. Or both children.
Yeah. If I finished Colette about 9 months or 10 months something, then then I did the same for Kerry.
Yeah.
But he was extra hungry, so I had to.
Right, that's the other thing, isn't it? The hungry thing.
He was quite a big baby.
Yeah.
So just have to do that. Whereas like Colette, she got the twins. And she breastfed them, but she didn't actually physically, she didn't like it because it was quite awkward. You have to have one that way and one that way.
Yeah.
Oh,
and she said it was quite, so she had a pump, so she used to walk around.
Oh, yeah.
Jump from the pump. With the milk. And then she, obviously, because they were twins, she wanted to feed them the same. But Rose was really hungry. So in the end, she realised that she'd have to give Rose more. Yeah. Because being 2, you think, you've got to treat them exactly the same when you're a new mum. I can't give one more than the other.
Yeah.
And then she realised, because when I used to stay over there, I'd have Rose during the night and Colette to have Ellen, because Ellen didn't cry and Rose did because she was hungry. So I'd have to give it, top her up with the milk from that Colette had expressed. In the fridge had all these. That's gosh. I think they need it. I think it's good for them.
That's super granny duties. That's amazing.
But that's what I mean. That's what you do.
Yeah.
And then I still see the kids. Obviously, they WhatsApp me and stuff like that, and got to cut their hair and.
That's lovely. That's lovely. Well,
but it is quite hard. Like my grandson, my daughter's son, he texted me and said, "Oh, if you're not doing anything this weekend, can I come and stay with you?" And I'm thinking, oh God. Yes, all right then, of course you can.
Oh, bless. And how old is he?
Nearly 17 at the end of the month.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
Yeah.
You've done a good job.
Yeah, I have done a good job.
That's wonderful. That's really, really lovely.
Yeah.
And so when he comes now at that age, I mean, you're not having to take him out anywhere, but you might want to go somewhere with him. Or does he come and just to hang out and get away from his parents? Would you give him sweets?
No, they don't get sweets from me. If I take them out, I say you can have a drink or a cake, but you can't have 2 because I can't afford.
Right. Oh, bless you. Yes.
No.
Yes.
Last time he came over on his bike, all the way from Angmering, he obviously caught the train and then come down. So I'm going to pick him up Friday night, and Lewis Market is on, so I'd like to go to that. So because I said to him, look, I am busy, Ollie. I've got to go. No, I'll come to the market with you, and then I might go and stand in the park on Sunday, and then there's a little market, crystals and stuff.
Oh right, yes.
I think the real reason he really wants to come over because he loves John Lennon. He's really into John Lennon, and he's got a hat which he's had for a long time. But he showed me the picture. He's got a coat and a scarf.
Oh, and he wants to show that to you.
I think he wants to show that to me. That's my opinion.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So I've got to take him somewhere where we can show it off.
Yeah. Oh no, that's so sweet. But again, he looks up to you. He has respect for you
Mm.
to want to come and do that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and
it's
then
inclusive.
then in the evening we sit and he gets the old cheese out and chops the cheese and the apples and stuff and gets it all on the tray. We all go and sit.
Oh, that's so lovely.
And what we're going to do? We're going to have a chat. So we have a chat.
Oh,
Oh.
have to bring him on here. Come and have a chat. Well, lovely ladies, we've done nearly an hour, I think. So is there anything else you would like to say to close about being a grandparent or a parent or a doula or?
Oh, I don't know. I suppose just enjoy the kids, really.
Yeah.
You know,
Enjoy the kids.
just enjoy them, and you know, every time you get, you know, just make the most of it.
Mm.
Mm.
And everybody's always making the best decisions that they can do out of love.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
their opinions might be different to yours, and it's generally not worth the falling out.
Very valid point.
No.
Yeah, very. It's the intention. It's all love based, isn't it? And some people get hurt in the way, but it shouldn't be about
And maybe
that.
not just look after the baby, but do things, help them go shopping or do things
Yeah,
like that. You know, help
practical.
them
Yeah,
Yeah.
rather than the baby.
A lot of people do focus on the baby, don't they? And the mum kind of gets forgotten.
Yes, exactly.
and also the siblings.
Oh
Yeah.
That's another
Don't go
thing,
straight
isn't
to
it?
the baby. Go to them.
Yeah, I
first.
learned that. I got told off. Yeah, the first time. Yeah, I bought something for the baby and not the sibling, and Daddy wasn't happy. So it's all these learning curves, isn't
Don't
it?
actually take any notes of the baby
No. Oh, what's that?
because
Yeah,
they
yeah.
will take you to the.
Yes,
baby.
look, I've got. Yes, see,
This is good.
wise words,
Yeah.
wise words, wise women, and that's us at Wise Women Weekdays. So if you like the chat, because we could chat forever, couldn't we? There's so much to chat about. Please like this video. Subscribe and share if you can, and please put some comments because we would love to get some feedback from you. And thank you very much for watching, and thank you ladies for joining us on the sofa.
Thank you.
Thank you.